It's 8:30. We'll call this meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Steve Carrianen,
Here.
Randy Newman,
Here.
Kay Wilson,
Here.
Jim Evans, Dale Magnuson. You have a quorum.
Okay, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Certification of compliance with the open meetings law.
This meeting was noticed to the media and the public as required by Section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
The meeting agenda is set. At this time, we'll open it up for public comments. Remember, you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less per individual. Comments should be directed to the committee as a whole and not directed to individual committee members. Committee cannot respond to your comments during this time. Please sign in and fill out a public comment sheet if you wish to speak on an item. Linda Zilmer.
Good morning, Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner. And before I left the house this morning, I looked at the Sawyer County Record website, and the breaking news line was that Mr. Markren was nominated, but I think we're probably past that, so congratulations. This morning, before I left the house, I also sent out an email to committee members and some others about things that this committee is responsible for and that I had wished over the years that there had been annual updates on, and that's your land and water resource management plan. That plan is critical because it helps provide funding to the county for the salaries for the staffing of your conservation and zoning staff. And it's more than just to check the box that, oh, every 10 years we're going to update a plan. So in my email, I also included the Washburn County plan, a link to that, so you can see what another neighboring county does, the people they involve, and the process they have. So when this committee, this 2-year term started, and I can't think of the gentleman from Winter who chaired this committee, one of the first things I said during public comment is please start looking at this plan because before your term is over, you'll have to update it. The meetings that are being held now, I believe, should be publicly noticed so that you as committee members can participate and the public can contribute. And I don't have enough time to include what I listed in my email as what I think should be included in the plan. But as it applies today, you have an agenda item number 14, which is asking the county to release conditions on land that was donated to the town of Bass Lake for the purposes of a sanitary district. And I believe until maybe you fully understand from looking at your plan and what the septage disposal needs are in the county, do not release those rights until the county has a plan for obviously future needs for septage treatment. And it touches on many other things, including maybe you would like to attend the MDD ad hoc committee that's meeting on Thursday. They will be addressing shoreland density, which affects water quality. And they may also be talking about this camping cabin ordinance amendment that might be coming forward that also affects density of development on shoreline, but with camping cabins as opposed to dwellings. This committee really is involved with stuff that gets touched on by many other committees, and including taking back parcels of land that are in lake beds from when developers divide up lots. And I really think that loophole needs to be closed, but some of you who are also serving on zoning might better address it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Consider approval of minutes from previous meeting.
I'll make a motion.
For a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, appointment of Land Conservation Committee member of a person who is engaged in agricultural use per Wisconsin State Statutes 9206. The member would then sit on the acting Sawyer County Land, Water, and Forest Resource Committee. Discussion action for approval of Allison Johnjack. This approval also requires county board approval.
Yeah, and this is ultimately something kind of from the conservation background and aspect. We have had this position vacant for over a year and a half. We've been unable to fill this committee, acting as the Land Conservation Committee, with an agricultural representative. We finally had an individual that came forward and said they'd be willing to serve as part of the agricultural representative. So it comes with my recommendation that we would approve Allison Johnjack as part of the Land Conservation Committee, which is acting as the Land, Water, Forest Resource Committee for Sawyer County.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm glad to hear that. And in fact, I would move that we approve that. And anyone care to second that?
I'll second it.
Appreciate it.
She is not here today. She does serve on the advisory committee for the conservation plan update. And she is actively engaged in an agricultural use, which is huge because again, we haven't been able to fill this position for the last year and a half. I wish I would have had Tim Seidel here as well. She does wear another hat and I don't remember where it's from. I believe it's from either USDA or from the DNR, but she does have another hat as well. And I can get more information, present that to the county board as well.
My understanding is she oversees Cranberry Farm statewide,
Right.
if I remember right.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't remember which agency she works for though.
Nor do I. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good, thank you. Events. Discussion on possible action. Item A is Tricky Trout Paddle Triathlon. Anyone here care to help us understand this event? No tricky trouters here today. There was a description of the event in our meeting packet, but I don't know.
Yeah, Steve, this is a new event that they applied for here. We have all the insurance that's required. Looking at their course map, there's no impact to any other real rec trails here. So I think it's a pretty low key event. I don't foresee any real issues with approving this at this time.
Okay. Great. Any further discussion?
Did we have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Sealy Pre-Fat Race.
Good morning. I'm Ned Zielsdorf. I'm with the Sealy Lions Club, and I am race director for the Sealy Lions annual mountain bike race. It's scheduled this year for August 23rd. This will be our 29th year. It's actually the largest fundraiser we have every year for the Sealy Lions, which allows us to carry out numerous community projects. Every dollar we raise is basically spent on community-based activities. The race this year is limited to 300 riders. It takes place up at the 00 Trailhead, Berkey Trailhead. We start and end up there. We make use of forest roads and trails and single track north from 00, but within the confines of the Sawyer County Forest. So I'm here basically to request your approval to hold this year's event, and I can try to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Ned?
I'll make a motion to approve the pre-fat race.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Item 10, Register of Deeds Report.
So you'll see on the report that I submitted, I did the last 3 months of 2025 and then also 2024 to comparison. If you're not aware of our money called Laredo, it's our outside sources, title companies and attorneys use that as subscribers every month. And then Tapestry is for any of the landowners or anybody that wants to get their deed. They go onto a website and use a credit card that way, so we don't have to deal with credit cards in the office. Our recorded documents, we were exactly the same as last year with 510 documents, so they are increasing. Our transfer fees were a little lower than last year, but we've had quite a number of good transfer fees coming in already in June. So I was just able to attend my first conference as a Register of Deeds, and it was I gained so much wonderful knowledge from the other registers, and I'm glad to go. So do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11, Land Records and County Surveyor Report. Item E is Surveyor Report. Anyone here? I think we all saw the written report from Mr. Gregory in the packet. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll move on to Land Records Report. That was also included, I believe, in our packet. Moving on, item 12, Forestry, County Forestry Report.
Okay, I apologize this month. I didn't get a written report in. I've been out sick for a good portion of time here the last couple of weeks, but I'll just brief update. For May, we did have 13 sales listed as active. A lot of contractors working in our spring and summer ground that's not oak wilt restricted right now. Our revenue for May was just over 80,000. So our year-to-date revenue, we're at 780,000. We're pretty well on track right now for our revenue estimate for the year. We're just about halfway where we're sitting right now. Additionally, we do have 5 ATV rehab projects out for bid right now. Our proposal deadline is July 2nd. And we do give them a 2-year contract window to complete these projects. And that's really about all I have to report on for this month. So a little bit abbreviated, but we'll make up for it next time.
Okay, all right, thank you much. Wisconsin DNR Report.
Yeah, so for the month of May, we finally shook off our main fire season. We got rain approximately halfway through the month. Only had a couple fires totaling for approximately 8 acres. However, we do have a new employee on board. He is our new county forest liaison. His name is Craig Morris, and Craig, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Craig Morris, the new liaison. I've been in the position for about a week and a half now, so still kind of getting on board and familiar with everything. I've been living in and around Hayward for the last 5 years or so, working with the Forest Service. So yeah, excited to jump into this new position.
Welcome.
And with that, we will just be continuing on. I'll be working on handing off what I've known and conversing with you guys, and with Greg working alongside Craig for the next few months, getting his feet running. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. U.S. Forest Service report. Nobody here today? All right. Move on to recreational trails report.
Good morning, Tim Davison, Sawyer County Snowmobile Alliance. This is our last month of the year for us. We end our fiscal year on the 28th of June, so we're trying to wrap stuff up right now, getting trails groomed, doing signing and stuff like that. Things are coming along real good. We've got some projects we're still working on. We'll be working on them until the 11th hour, I'm sure, to get them done yet this year, and looking forward to the 5 projects if we can get them accepted for next year. Any questions?
Questions?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Non-motorized trails? Nothing today? Okay. Zoning and Conservation Department. Conservation report.
Yep, as part of the conservation update, conservation staff remains busy. We're doing dam checks, erosion control site visits, as well as non-metallic mining inspections, which are for our gravel pits. Last month, and in conjunction with the chair, kind of give you a little bit of update as to where we're at on Nelson Lake water levels. So Nelson Lake had performed a drawdown last fall in conjunction with fixing a boat ramp. So the water was needed to be drawn down in order to basically re-level some of the slabs that go into the lake. Well, we didn't get a lot of snow. We didn't get a lot of spring rain. So that water level has been below normal. We, as of Monday, are still 10 inches below where ordinary water levels are associated for Nelson. It looks like by this Friday, we're going to put the last stop log in there finally, which will hopefully increase those levels again. It is anticipated that we'd be at full pool by the end of the month, or at least by the 4th of July weekend. Hoping again that we do get some precip along the way here. So again, that's kind of the update as far as Nelson Lake is concerned. I guess, was there any other specific questions on Nelson Lake that I could help answer at this point before going through the rest of the report? Yeah, ultimately, we still do have to pass a base flow on Nelson Lake that then feeds into the Togutech. So a lot of people are always asking, well, why don't you just block the whole thing up so you can fill it up? Well, if we block the whole lake up and don't let any water through, everything else downstream dries up. So we do have to still pass a base flow there. A point intercept survey has been conducted on Lake Loretta. This is in conjunction with a grant that was approved last year. So this is for AIS control on Lake Loretta. So we are working on the first doing the surveying of where those infected areas are. Lake Loretta has a bunch of curly leaf pondweed. So we are trying to help control the spread of that. And the other update I have is part of the Land Water Management Plan Advisory Committee. They have conducted their first meeting, and the second meeting will take place tomorrow. So I did do a little bit of research here while we were as part of the other meeting. So Allison John Jack does work for the John Jack Cranberry operation right now. She's also the outreach and education specialist for the UW Extension for Cranberry operations. So that is the other hat that she wears. With that, I do also have Randy John Jack, who is wanting to give a presentation about the Billy Boy water levels.
Item down on the agenda. I'll take the other item first, or you want me to do now?
Well, I got you as item B. So I mean, that ends my report unless there's any other questions for me.
Oh, okay.
And let me share my screen here. I do have the presentation. I'm going to divert a bit while you're clicking it up. My daughter Allison, her full-time job is University of Wisconsin Extension. She's a university employee full-time. She helps me out on the farm somewhat. So I'm Randy John Jack. I've been raising cranberries next to Lake Coudray for 50 years. So I've got a different perspective on lake levels than a unique perspective, I guess I should say. As you've heard, there's discussion about changing the water level of Big Lake Coudray. And the reason I'm here is I'm shocked that there's not a clear-cut
procedure from the DNR and how they address this. Rumor is there's a meeting coming up in June for a public hearing that's going to discuss water levels. Well, it's already June and we don't have the meeting scheduled. I heard you guys discussing some things that have been going on in the background that I'm not aware of. So I keep waiting for somewhere where the people can present opinions and facts before the decision is made. Jacob Druffner is the contact person in Spooner for the Wisconsin DNR, who apparently is primarily involved in these decisions. And he seems to be very busy and not able to address everything. He doesn't look at everything I give him. And I don't think a public hearing is the best venue for facts to come out always. Last month, there was a overflow meeting, I guess, at the Bass Lake Town Hall, where only one side is allowed to speak. And it's just a strange state of affairs when we're dealing with something that's so crucial. Now, I was concerned if my first slide here, you've got a silent witness there, it's impartial. If you look at that slide, that's the corner. There's a 90-degree bend of Highway Double K on the north shore of Coudray. And you're looking at the telephone infrastructure. If you can see it next to the tree, there's a telephone pole there. And there is a telephone pedestal. No, back up one for me.
Can you do full screen on the view? Yeah, and then full. Yeah, a little better. Thank you.
So if you look there carefully, there's a pale green telephone pedestal that's almost horizontal. I took this picture a few weeks ago. And it's right on the shore of the lake. And you can be sure that when CenturyLink planted that telephone pedestal, it was not horizontal, it was vertical. So at that time, they thought there was enough room there to support their pedestal. And now the pedestal is tipping over into the lake, which indicates to me that the lake has been high. Mr. Druffner explained to me, and this jibes with what I see, that for up until 3 years ago, the county was inadvertently keeping the water level of Coudray above its ordered level. And I don't know how the issue came up, but they started looking at it. They reestablished the level and told the county to lower the level back down to the level which I think is maybe 6 inches below where it has been for 20 years. But people who have been on the lake for 20 years only know the higher level. And when it dropped at their docks, they noticed it and they think it's not normal. But that picture of that telephone pedestal tells me that the lake has been high and there's erosion going on because of it. Now you can do the next slide, which is the reverse angle of the same pedestal. So now the pedestal looks much bigger and you can see that there's no slope to the shoreline. It is a straight drop from that telephone pedestal down to you can just barely see the lake edge there. I think the white is left by a blue heron. But that is the rocky shore. Now we're talking about raising that water level 6 inches above that again. It's obvious to me that that's going to have an effect. So if you have a steep shoreline is unstable. If you have a gentle slope, obviously the waves can crash up against it and the waters will recede without much erosion. But already here you have this bluff shoreline and any raise in the level is going to, when the white caps come up, from the prevailing west winds, southwest, it erodes the shoreline. Okay, what's the next slide? Whitefish Lake, the owners, for some reason I don't understand. Whitefish Lakeshore Property Owners Association is voicing a strong opinion on the level of Coudray. I understand that Whitefish Lake has somehow lost its water level. I don't know about that, but what I do know, and this is what I talked to Jacob Druffner about, Whitefish Lake connects to LCO by Whitefish Creek, and the creek flows from Whitefish to LCO. So I asked Mr. Druffner, how do the elevations compare? He says Whitefish Lake is a minimum, this is last summer, Whitefish Lake is a minimum of 12 inches above Big LCO. So I'm completely baffled as to how raising big LCO 6 inches is going to have any impact on Whitefish Lake. So that little squiggly line, that represents Whitefish Creek. You raise it 6 inches, LCO gets deeper. I need someone to explain to me how they think that's going to raise the water level of Whitefish Lake. Now, I was on the Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association. I hope to call the president and talk to her because she gave a presentation at the town board meeting and explained to me what they're thinking, but there's no phone number for her on the website. I filled out a form to please call me. She has not returned my call. So when I asked Jacob Dreffner about it, how that's going to impact that, he made a statement, but not a very strong one. He says, I don't know that raising LCO is going to raise Whitefish Lake. And I would think he would say, point blank, it's not going to, but he wants all sides to be heard apparently, or considers it's not his place, but I think it is. So I'm baffled at how Whitefish Lake has any standing as to what happens on Coudray. Okay, next slide. Now, the details here are just going to be too small for you to see, but the big three-lobe lake in the center of the picture is Coudray. There's an orange arrow that says Whitefish Creek. South of that is Whitefish Lake. And this, I'm trying to show the water flow as the water leaves Whitefish Lake. It enters that center lobe of LCO. The water would flow to the east over to, on the right, just above the word reserve is Little LCO Lake. So the water runs under Thoroughfare Bridge, through Little LCO, and just below the word reserve is the narrow channel and Billy Boy flowage. The water has to travel through all of that to get to Billy Boy Dam. Now, I did some transit shots, and I'm not a professional at that, but I calculate that the water level at Billy Boy Dam is 3 inches below the water level in LCO. So the next slide, I think, is a dotted line that's not going to show up. According to when I trace it out of the plat book, the water takes a 6-mile route from the outlet of Whitefish Lake, around Coudray, through Little Coudray, down Billy Boy flowage before it gets to Billy Boy Dam. And the idea that, to me, that stop logs in Billy Boy Dam are going to impact Whitefish Lake, I don't understand it at all. Unless, I don't know how far you could raise Coudray with that, but if there's no upside to raising water, there's no environmental impact, apparently, they think, maybe they do want to raise Coudray a foot. Maybe they want, but if there's no, why maybe they want raise it 18 inches, whatever, to get what they want. I don't understand. So then the confusing thing, next slide, I think, is going to be totally worthless. But oh no, it isn't. I thought it was my data slide. So this is a picture of LCO from the east end. This is Barbertown Bay. And you're looking a long way up LCO to the west. On the left is Little LCO. And just above that is Whitefish Lake. And somebody took, Big Coudray has a surface area of 5,000 acres. Whitefish, somebody said, has 800 acres of surface area. And so they're talking about manipulating the big lake to affect the small lake. You know, if you want to raise the water level on Whitefish Lake, I think you have to put a flow control on the outlet of Whitefish Lake. And obviously, I don't think that's plausible because that's an important fish creek where the walleyes run up and the muskies run upstream in the spring to spawn. So I can see why they don't want to put a flow control there, but absent that, I don't know how you're going to affect the level of Whitefish Lake. Okay, one more slide. And this is worthless. So this is trying to show you the confusion I had when I tried to sort this information out is the different elevations. When people start citing elevations, the word I learned is datum. It used to be considered mean sea level was one amount. Then there was a new standard that established sea level. Then there was a thing called NGDV 29, which is established in 1929. And now the new standard is NAV something 88, established in 88, but they vary by several feet. So we have all these different locations on the lake that are monitoring elevations, and they're all on there's many different datums in use. For example, on Billy Boyd Dam, there's a concrete walkway that had a brass benchmark in it with the elevation recorded as mean sea level in many years ago. Well, somebody vandalized it in the 80s, and it was replaced by a new brass marker in the same flat concrete walkway. And they use a different datum now, so the recorded level, I'm not allowed to walk up there and read it, but it's something like 18 inches different, even though it's in the same slab of concrete. The different datums consider 18 inches different. So that speaks to the confusion of trying to establish lake levels. And that's why I go back to that phone pedestal is, to me, the lake is higher than it has been. In the last few years, it's been somewhat lower, but it's still, so I think now it's pretty close to that range where the DNR has ordered it. But anyway, so the reason I'm here is I'm just looking for a way to be able to raise some points without being overrun by a big group. And I'm surprised that I don't know what the DNR is going to do. One of my biggest concerns is the Lake Association on Coudray often says they represent the 800 lakeshore owners on Coudray. There is only 800 lakeshore owners on Coudray. They don't represent everyone. They're organized and they can get a bunch of people to make phone calls or jam a meeting, but a lot of the people aren't even aware the issue is coming. So if the lake raises 6 inches or a foot, some people are going to like what it does to their shoreline. Some people aren't going to like it. And if they don't find out about it till after the fact, there's going to be a lot of uproar at that point too. And that's why I don't understand why there's not a clear, concise procedure without meetings being overrun and people not allowed to speak to reach a determination of what the lake level should be. So I think that's all I had to say. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Mr. John Jack?
You have that packet? Let me get one to you, would you? I didn't print it out. I was hoping it was going to be, so I can talk to somebody and get your information and get you copies of that.
I can forward the slides to the committee here.
Will that satisfy you? Would you like a paper copy also? Okay. Anything else?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
USDA report? Nothing today? Okay.
And I can just, I guess, have some other talking points as part of that. Am I still sharing? Can you grab share back? Yeah, as far as the procedure, where the process is at. So again, Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association submitted a petition to the DNR for an official water level increase. The county has remained neutral in wanting to either raise or keep those water levels, but we have facilitated the documentation that the Department of Natural Resources needs in order to move forward with this petition as part of this request. As of right now, it is back on the DNR's hands, going through, again, their fourth or fifth legal review process of a amended draft order, which sets the min and max of Big Lac Courte Oreille. Again, that is still at the DNR side. Once they approve the draft order, it'll be sent back to the county for additional review, which I'm anticipating that we're not going to have any additional comments on it because we've already seen it before. Which at that point, then the Department of Natural Resources will hold an official public hearing for the water level change. Again, the county is to remain neutral on that aspect. So that is kind of where the process is at. So the next time you'll hear from this will be the official public hearings held by the DNR. And they'll take input from everyone as the pros and cons. And then the Department of Natural Resources has the final say on whether or not to change or amend that official order. That is the 1955 order.
Do you have any idea why the public's been told there's going to be a meeting and the public hearing is going to be in June and we've heard nothing?
it was anticipated that would be heard in June, but again, it's on DNR legal counsel, so who knows how long that may take.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 14, resolution, Bass Lake parcel restriction removal, discussion and possible action.
I can speak to that one.
Okay, thank you.
So the town of Bass Lake approached me about putting this resolution forward. It's regarding properties that were purchased from the county by the town of Bass Lake back in 1973. And there's a restriction on the counties that are on the properties that are in the Northwood Beach development. The restriction is that they can only be sold by the town of Bass Lake to a sanitary district. So what they're requesting is that that restriction would be removed. They did have a special meeting on April 15th where the electorate voted to sell the properties, which is precipitating the desire to remove the restrictions. And I do have a signed now request from the board. In the packet, it wasn't signed yet. They met, I think, Monday night and got all that signed. Back in 2000, properties, very similar circumstance, the restrictions were removed by the county board at that time. So this is a similar request.
We're looking to sell some of our land because we're gonna be spending a lot of money on our fire department relatively soon. We need new apparatus. We need work on the firehouse, so.
Was there property sold to the tribe for possible housing in that area?
Not that I know of.
I was told that there was.
This property that we would like to sell, or?
No,
I'd have-
not this property.
I'd have to talk to Truett, but not that I'm aware of.
So I was told that there was, and that the possibility that the sanitary district might be a necessary element for that type of construction.
And that has not been part of the conversation, not that I'm aware of. I mean, not at the meetings I've attended, which is all of them, but I've yet to talk about, the tribe has yet to be mentioned in our conversation.
Okay, any other discussion around this, or anyone care to take action, make a motion to remove?
Can I make that motion, or do I need to recuse because I'm on the Bass Lake board? Then I'll make the motion that we approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item 15, board appointed committee updates. Anything there? Correspondence, reports and from conferences and meetings. Anything there? Nope. Future agenda items.
As part of future agenda items, I do see that Jane Getting is also online. So Jane Getting has been the voice for the Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association. Jane, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not sure if you are still the president of the Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association, but she's been the instrumental part for the Billy Boy water level increase. Now, you just heard from Randy John Jack as far as potential opposition of that. I'm wondering if this committee would like to hear from Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association as well, to better inform yourself. Again, it has always been, at least with previous county administrator Andy Alvarado, that the county is to remain neutral in this request. Allow the process to occur. We'll facilitate any documentation that the Department of Natural Resources has. But would you want to hear from Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association as to why they want the water level increase with Billy Boy as a future agenda item? Again, I mean, we've discussed this over the last, year and a half, but I don't know if you've ever seen, something as eloquent as a presentation like that before or something.
Might be useful.
Yeah, I definitely think it'd be useful to see
Yeah.
that side also.
So Jane, I think you probably heard that. Would you want to give any type of presentation to the Land Water Forest Resource Committee for next month?
I would be delighted.
Wonderful. I will put you on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I'm not sure that we do, but
If, I guess if the Land Water Forest Resource Committee, acting as a committee for the county board, wanted to make a recommendation to the Department of Natural Resources as part of the public hearing, you certainly could. But again, it's always, at least initially started, that we were going to remain neutral on this, but I guess I would leave that up to the powers that be if you did want to take a position.
seems like Billy Boy has been, discussed at various levels for some time, and I don't know enough about it yet. And maybe at some point it'll crystallize and make more sense than it does right now.
Yeah, and hopefully, I, again, don't know when that public hearing will be. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear from Jane in early July prior to the department holding their public hearing. I have not seen the draft version back. And generally, even before they would hold a public hearing, they have to have a 2-week notice. So I think we're probably in still good time frame that this committee would be able to hear from the Whitefish Lake Property Owners Association before the DNR holds their official public hearing.
All right, thank you. There's nothing else for future agenda items. I believe we stand adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.